Hello everyone, welcome to King Kong Cantonese. Today, we will talk about some history, the June 4th massacre and how it is related to Hong Kong. Since year 2020, the second mass migration wave from Hong Kong has emerged. The main reason for migration was the enactment of national security law, which restricts freedom of speech and press. 香港第二次移民潮。香港第二次移民潮。The first mass migration wave happened between 1989 to 1997. Do you know what was the reason behind? Hong Kong inhabitants at that time were mostly from southeast China. A lot of them fled to Hong Kong escaping from wars, starvation, and the rule of the Chinese Communist Party. For example, the editor's grandparents had their assets confiscated during the Cultural Revolution in the late 1960s. 文化大革命。文化大革命。These Hong Kongers back then understood that the CCP was not a reliable regime. Although they felt safe and proud under the rule of the British colonial government, they still had a strong sense of belonging to China as a country. Therefore, since the 1980s, there were lots of debates over the destiny of Hong Kong, as Britain only planned to rule over Hong Kong till 1997. The mainstream view was still to stay as part of China. 回歸祖國嘅懷抱。回歸祖國嘅懷抱。Subsequently, the British and Chinese government signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration, determining the handover of Hong Kong to China in 1997, with the Chinese government promising to keep systems in Hong Kong as they were for 50 years. 97回歸。97回歸。50年不變。50年不變。Most Hong Kongers still felt positive regarding the handover and promises until the incident happened in 1989, known as the June 4th massacre. 六四屠城。六四屠城。The protest started in April 1989 with students-led pro-democracy protests and hunger strikes at Tiananmen Square in Beijing. They demanded political, social, and economic reforms and were supported by people in numerous cities including Shanghai, Chengdu, and Hong Kong. On 28th of May, 1.5 million people, which was 1/4 of Hong Kong's population, paraded through Hong Kong Island to express support to protesters in Beijing. Despite multiple attempts of Beijing citizens to block the People's Liberation Army from reaching Tiananmen Square, troops advanced in late hours on 3rd of June. They fired at crowds on the way and in Tiananmen Square. Those who did not run quick enough were crushed by tanks. Mortality was thought to be up to thousands, but all official estimates emphasized only on the number of soldiers injured. Throughout the protests, Western journalists were present and provided massive coverage of the events. After the crackdown, Charlie Cole, an American photojournalist, hid his camera films in the tank of a hotel toilet, which successfully escaped from being seized by government officials. Numerous precious photos and footages by journalists revealed the truth that the Chinese government had been trying so hard to hide. After the crackdown, most student leaders and protesters faced long years of imprisonment. Some luckier ones exiled and appeared frequently on foreign media. Till now, Simply remembering or mentioning the incident in public is associated with subversion, and it remains one of the most censored topics on the internet in mainland China. Those who bring up the topic in public are threatened and arrested, including mothers of victims in the incident. Hong Kong used to be the last place in China with freedom of speech where annual vigils were held on anniversaries of the incident. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the Hong Kong government banned commemoration in 2020 and 2021, despite pro-government festivals could still go on. On June 4, 2020, many people chose to ignore the ban and broke into the annual vigils venue, which is usually a public open space. 24 activists were consequently charged for promoting, attending, or organizing an unlawful assembly and sentenced to 4 to 13 months of imprisonment. In 2021, the Hong Kong government again warned that the vigil was an unlawful assembly and stationed 3,000 police officers around the park. This marked the first year of an unoccupied Victoria Park during the June 4th massacre anniversary since 1989. Talking about imprisonment, one of the protesters in 1989 who faced the longest imprisonment was Mr. Lee Wang Yang. Lee was a labor rights activist before joining the Tiananmen Square protests. He served a total of 21 years in prison on charges of counter-revolutionary propaganda, incitement, and subversion. During his imprisonment, he was tortured by being locked in a small coffin chamber, having his teeth knocked out, and being rejected from appropriate medical treatment. When released, he was left completely blind and deaf, with serious spinal problems. Luckily or unluckily, he temporarily escaped from the CCP surveillance and was interviewed by a journalist from Hong Kong, which allowed him to leave his last words in public before his consequent death. During the interview, Lee claimed himself responsible for the fate of his nation. 國家興亡，匹夫有責。國家興亡，匹夫有責。He also did not regret fighting for a better China, even had he been beheaded. After the interview was aired, Lee was further put under round-the-clock surveillance by Chinese officials. 4 days later, he was found dead next to his bed in hospital. Photos show a strip of cloth hanging from window bars caught his neck while his feet were flexed but completely on the ground. With basic physics theory and referencing to what he had said in the interview, the public could not believe that it was a suicide. In addition, the body was cremated without the consent of relatives. A friend visiting his funeral was also house arrested. The more actions the Chinese government did to cover up the truth, the more suspicious it seemed. At the end of the day, both the Chinese and Hong Kong governments are spending more and more money and effort covering up history that they did not want to face, including the June 4th massacre, how they have been treating activists and their legal representatives throughout the years, as well as what has happened during the 2019 pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. They call these actions safeguarding the country's stability. 維穩，維穩。In fact, no one dislikes stability and comfort. If the system treats everyone fairly and people have access to basic food, housing, medical and safety needs, who would protest among tear gas and bullets? During the week of script writing, 3 monuments commemorating the June 4th massacre in 3 different universities in Hong Kong were torn down in early hours, citing safety and legal concerns. While it is heartbreaking enough to dig back into this painful history for information research, it is even more desolating to see how our alma mater have depreciated from embracing academic freedom to self-censoring. 自我審查，自我審查。不想回憶，未敢忘記。不想回憶，未敢忘記。There are different methods to commemorate martyrs who had fought for freedom. The authority can change how history is recorded, but every one of us can take up the responsibility to remember the truth and pass it down. For whatever we have done wrong, we must face the truth and look for ways to improve. Hope you have learned more about Hong Kong and her history from this video. Tell us your comment regarding the issues mentioned. If you are interested in some extended reading, take a look at the mitigation plea of Chow Hang Tung, one of the 24 activists arrested for commemorating in 2020. Hope you've liked our video. Don't forget to press like, subscribe, and the bell to get notification for the coming video release. Bye bye!